The summer heat at Fort Benning was oppressive, but the Army Ranger Monument dedication ceremony drew hundreds despite the temperature. Active duty Rangers, veterans spanning multiple generations, and military brass gathered to honor the legacy of America's elite infantry. The new monument featured bronze statues of Rangers in action, surrounded by plaques commemorating significant operations from World War II to present day. Among the crowd stood an old man, maybe 85, wearing a simple polo shirt and khakis, leaning heavily on a cane as he studied the memorial with intense concentration. 4 young Rangers from the 75th Ranger Regiment stood nearby near tan barrets, fresh from deployment in Afghanistan. Sergeant First Class Marcus Chin, Staff Sergeant Jake Rodriguez, and Specialists Davis and Thompson were proud warriors, their uniforms adorned with combat patches and scrolls indicating multiple deployments. They noticed the old man staring at one particular section of the monument, muttering something under his breath. If you're curious where this leads, hit that like button and comment if you believe some memories never fade, no matter how much time passes. "Look at that old timer," Davis said quietly to his buddies. "Probably never even served, just here for the free barbecue." The others chuckled, but Rodriguez, slightly older and more experienced, shook his head. "Show some respect. Guy's probably a veteran. Look how he's studying that memorial." The old man shifted his cane, and his sleeve rolled up, revealing a faded tattoo on his forearm. It was a distinctive design, a skull with crossed rifles behind it, but the style was old school, the ink faded green-gray with age, clearly done decades ago. Thompson noticed the tattoo and smirked. "Check out the ink, boys. Looks like something from a biker gang." "Skull and Guns real original." Chun glanced over and laughed. "Probably got in some port town during Vietnam." Every old vet's got a questionable tattoo story. They continued their conversation, dismissing the old man as just another curious civilian, unaware that several senior officers had noticed him and were watching carefully. Major General William Bradford, commander of the Ranger Training Brigade, was walking through the crowd when he saw the old man. The general stopped mid-stride, his expression shifting from casual observation to stunned recognition. He moved quickly toward the elderly veteran, his aide struggling to keep pace. "Sir," the aide said, confused by the sudden urgency, "is everything all right?" Bradford didn't answer, his eyes fixed on the old man's tattoo as the veteran turned slightly, making the design more visible. Now, before we continue, if this story has you on the edge of your seat, please subscribe and turn on notifications. What happens next is extraordinary. The general reached the old man and spoke, his voice tight with emotion. "Excuse me, sir, that tattoo on your arm. Where did you get it?" The old man turned, surprised by the general's intensity. "This?" He pulled up his sleeve fully, revealing the complete design. "Got it in 1952, in Korea. Camped near Bizen right before we shipped out for what turned out to be our last operation." The general's hand went to his mouth, and his eyes glistened with tears. "You're from Task Force Ranger 6, Bradford said, his voice barely above a whisper. "The unit that disappeared during Operation Thunder." "Dear God, I never thought I'd meet one of you." The old man's expression hardened, decades of pain surfacing. "There were 38 of us. I'm the only one who made it out. The only one who came home." The young Rangers who'd been mocking him moments ago had gone silent, moving closer to hear what was being said. Other veterans in the area began gathering, sensing something significant was happening. Rodriguez pulled out his phone, quickly searching for information, and his face went pale as he read. "Captain, this is about Operation Thunder, November 1952. An entire Ranger company went missing behind enemy lines in North Korea. They were on a reconnaissance mission near the Chosin Reservoir. Officially listed as MIA, presumed KIA. It's one of the biggest unsolved mysteries of the Korean War." The old man nodded slowly. "We were inserted 10 miles behind Chinese lines to gather intelligence on troop movements. The operation was compromised from the start. Someone leaked our position, or we were just unlucky. The Chinese were waiting. We fought for 3 days straight, running low on ammunition, no hope of extraction. One by one, my brothers fell. I was captured on the fourth day, wounded, half dead. Spent 2 years in a POW camp that officially didn't exist. General Bradford's voice was thick with emotion. Sir, what's your name? The old man straightened despite his age and injury. Sergeant First Class William Morrison, C Company, 8th Ranger Battalion. Service number ... He rattled it off without hesitation. The general actually saluted him, and every ranger in the vicinity immediately came to attention and saluted as well, including the 4 young soldiers who'd been mocking him moments before. Sergeant Morrison, the general said, you're listed as killed in action. The Army declared all of Task Force Ranger 6 dead in 1954 when the POW exchange didn't include anyone from your unit. How did you survive? Morrison's voice grew distant with remembering. The Chinese kept some of us separate, used us for propaganda that was never released. When the war ended, they didn't acknowledge having us. I escaped in 1954 with 2 other prisoners during a camp transfer. We walked 70 miles through mountains to reach UN lines. The other 2 didn't make it. I was the only one who crossed back. Chun, who'd laughed at the tattoo minutes earlier, felt sick to his stomach. Sir, why weren't you recognized? Why aren't you in the records? Morrison smiled bitterly. I was debriefed, hospitalized, then quietly discharged. The Army was embarrassed about the lost unit, didn't want attention on failed operations. I was given a medical discharge, told to go home and rebuild my life. No fanfare, no recognition, just a check and a handshake. I've lived with being a ghost for 70 years. General Bradford pulled out his phone, making the call immediately. This is General Bradford. I need historical records pulled on Operation Thunder and Task Force Ranger 6. I have Sergeant First Class William Morrison standing in front of me, and we need to correct a 70-year-old injustice immediately. He looked at Morrison. Sir, this is unacceptable. You're a hero who's been forgotten. That changes today. Rodriguez approached Morrison, shame evident on his face. Sergeant Morrison, I apologize. We saw your tattoo and made assumptions. We didn't show you the respect you earned. Morrison waved his hand. You didn't know, son. That's the thing about being forgotten. Nobody knows your story unless you tell it, and I stopped telling it decades ago because nobody believed me. Davis asked quietly, Sir, that tattoo, why that design? Why the skull and crossed rifles? Morrison pulled his sleeve up completely. Our unit designed it before the operation. The skull represented our willingness to face death. The crossed rifles represented the brotherhood between us. We all got it the night before we deployed. It was supposed to be a symbol of our bond, proof we've been together. I'm the only one left wearing it, the only proof my brothers existed at all. The general returned from his phone call. Sergeant Morrison, I've initiated a full review of your service record and the Operation Thunder incident. But more importantly, I want you to know that your unit isn't forgotten. Task Force Ranger 6 is commemorated on this very monument, right there. He pointed to a section of the memorial that Morrison had been staring at when they arrived. Engraved in the bronze were the words, Task Force Ranger 6, Operation Thunder, November 1952, 38. Rangers, never forgotten. Morrison's eyes filled with tears as he read his brothers' names, 37 of them listed in neat rows. I lobbied for 5 years to get them on this memorial, the general said. I'm a military historian, and their story haunted me. I never thought I'd meet a survivor. Sir, would you honor us by speaking at the dedication? Tell their story. Make sure everyone knows what you and your brothers sacrificed. Morrison nodded, unable to speak. The 4 young rangers stood at attention, no longer seeing an old man with a faded tattoo, but a warrior who endured hell and survived to bear witness. Keenan spoke for all of them. Sergeant Morrison, it will be our honor to escort you to the stage and stand with you when you speak. Rangers lead the way, sir. You led when it mattered most. During the dedication ceremony, Morrison spoke for 20 minutes, his voice growing stronger as he shared stories of his brothers, their courage, their sacrifice, their final days. He spoke of men who fought when hope was gone, who died protecting each other, who deserved to be remembered as heroes rather than statistics. When he finished, Every ranger present stood and recited the Ranger Creed in unison, their voices carrying across the field, a tribute from one generation of warriors to another. This story reminds us that heroes walk among us unrecognized, that every veteran carries stories we can't imagine, and that the tattoos and symbols we dismiss as outdated might represent bonds forged in combat and sacrifice we never fully understand. It reminds us to show respect, ask questions before making judgments, and honor those who served, especially those who've been forgotten. If this touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs this reminder. Drop a comment about a veteran whose story deserves to be heard. Let's honor those who fought in forgotten wars and came home to silence. Thank you for watching, and remember, behind every faded tattoo might be a story of extraordinary courage.